Step into the arena of minds. On this channel, every move is a clash of strategy, every sacrifice a turning point, and every game a battle for glory. Watch two players push the limits of creativity and calculation, as we bring you the drama, suspense, and excitement of chess like never before. Saleh Salem thrusts a pawn from d2 to d4, staking bold central ground and demanding attention, as if shouting, "Fight me" in the opening, tempo set for a fiery duel. Wesley So replies with knight to f6, developing calmly, eyeing fr in d5, preparing flexible defense and instant counterplay against Saleh Salem's central ambitions. Saleh Salem pushes c2 c4, expanding on the queen side and striking at the center to build a pawn wedge, forcing Wesley to clarify the central tension. Wesley So fianchettos with g7 g6, signaling hypermodern intent, guarding the long diagonal and inviting Saleh Salem to overextend into a prepared counterstrike. Saleh Salem plays f3, shoring up e4 and supporting a future pawn storm, a gritty, slightly unorthodox boost to central control and attacking potential. Wesley So answers by thrusting his pawn from d7 to d5, directly challenging the center and daring Saleh Salem to open lines for a bloody confrontation. Saleh Salem captures cx d5. Pawn from c4 takes on d5, trading central pawns and opening files. He forces Wesley's knight to make a choice under pressure. Wesley So snaps back with nx d5. Knight f6 captures on d5, centralizing his piece and restoring material balance while keeping the game sharp and tactical. Saleh Salem charges e2 e4, claiming even more space and preparing an f5 push that will cramp Wesley's position and threaten to blow open the center. Wesley So reroutes his knight to b6, retreating from d5 to b6 to ic4 and a4, a sly reposition that keeps tactical options alive without panicking. Saleh Salem develops nc3, bringing his queen knight into the fight, supporting d5 and e4 squares, and signaling full commitment to center control and piece activity. Wesley So answers with bg7, finishing his kingside fianchetto and casting a protective shadow over the long diagonal. His defensive fortress begins to take shape. Saleh Salem plays b3, bringing his light-squared bishop out to bolster the center and b6 and c5, aiming at Wesley's queenside structure. Wesley So castles kingside, tucking his monarch to safety, while quickly mobilizing rooks and saying, "Bring it on," with a ready coordinated army. Saleh Salem slides qd2, connecting rooks, preparing long castling and adding pressure to the center. Saleh wants his pieces primed for an all-out assault. Wesley So replies n-cheeks, developing the bait knight to cheek6, contesting the central squares and preparing counterplay on the queen side. Saleh Salem commits to long castling with swagger, placing his king on cone and turning his rook to the d-file, signaling an aggressive pawn storm to follow. Wesley So thrusts 7 f5, kicking at Saleh center and immediately opening lines toward the white king, a sharp, uncompromising challenge to the opposite side castling war. Saleh Salem pushes e5, advancing the pawn to e5 to cramp Wesley's knight and generate attacking chances. The battlefield heats up as pieces rush forward. Wesley So slides nb4, his knight from c6 to b4, jumping into Saleh's camp to threaten c2 and cause chaos near white's king, a menacing, tactical probe. Saleh Salem retreats Endgame h3, developing the knight to h3, with an eye to fouer and e6, aiming for dynamic jumps rather than passive defense. WesleySo answers b6, bringing the queen bishop out to e6, centralizing and preparing to trade off white's aggressive pieces while shoring up key dark squares. Saleh Salem tucks his king to keybone, a cautious necessary sidestep, to avoid pins and prepare for the oncoming storm on the queen side. WesleySo consolidates with q even, connecting his pieces and keeping an eye on e4 and the king's side, a calm engine-like step before imminent friction. Saleh Salem flashes n4, knight h3 to fouer, charging toward e6 and d5 squares, and threatening tactical fireworks. He's hunting for sacrifices and forks. WesleySo replies bfs7, bishop from e6 retreats to f7, to regroup defensively, and keep an eye on e6 and gate, maintaining flexibility for counterstrikes. Saleh Salem hurls h2 h4, a gutsy pawn thrust to gain space, open lines, and hint at a kingside assault, while Wesley's king feels the tension across the board. WesleySo slides f8, Rook fight moves to date, taking control of the open d-file, and preparing to contest any infiltration, methodical and menacing. Saleh Salem plays bb5, bishop from f1 storms to b5 along the diagonal, pinning and provoking weaknesses while increasing pressure on Wesley's queen side. WesleySo answers 7 cheeks, a sharp pawn push, to attack the bishop and blunt white's activity, forcing a decision and opening new tactical possibilities. Saleh Salem calmly retreats b2, bishop b5 to e2, regrouping into a solid but flexible stance while keeping the tension high and plans ambiguous. WesleySo immediately strikes with chick c5, smashing the center and trying to pry open lines. The pawn thrust accelerates the middlegame carnage. Saleh Salem charges e5 e6, a gutsy pawn storm pushing into enemy territory, threatening disruption and daring Wesley to accept the chaos. WesleySo captures bx6, bishop f7, takes on e6, sacrificing nothing but exchanging central pawns while eliminating white's advanced pawn and seeking to neutralize threats. Saleh Salem replies dx e5, pawn from d4 leaps to c5, capturing the pawn on c5 and opening more files. The position combusts with exchanges. WesleySo replies bx d3, bishop from g7 slices onto c3, capturing the knight on c3, delivering a sharp material skirmish and weakening white's center. Saleh Salem recaptures b2 c3. Pawn from b2 takes on c3 to gobble the bishop, opening a pawn shield while keeping material balance in flux. WesleySo rattles the position with q4, queen 7 to e4, invading white's queen side and threatening tactically along ranks and diagonals. Black smells blood. Saleh Salem strikes qx8, queen d2 captures on date with check, sacrificing the queen for massive activity and immediate tactical complications. WesleySo reacts rx d8, Rook from e8 slides to date, capturing the queen and stepping into a toothy tactical firefight where precision will decide the outcome. Saleh Salem recaptures rx d8, Rook done takes on date with check, returning material and forcing Wesley's king into an exposed dance around the center. WesleySo sidesteps kf7, king gate to f7, tucking closer to the center to keep his pieces coordinated and ready to mop up the chaos with steel nerves. Saleh Salem ramps r-fight, Rook from date rockets to fight, delivering a brutal check, hunting Wesley's king and turning the position into a one-act thriller. WesleySo replies, KX fight. King f7 captures on fight, taking the rook, stepping into danger, but emerging with material compensation and nerve-testing resilience. Saleh Salem counters Endgame. Knight four dives to e6, capturing on s6, a striking fork that rips into black's camp and blows open tactical motifs with flair. WesleySo slips k-gate. King fight slides back to gate to escape the forks and regroup defensively, choosing survival over bravado as the board smolders. Saleh Salem pushes c3 x b4. Pawn from c3 captures on b4, taking the knight that invaded b4 earlier, simplifying the mess while keeping his pieces active. WesleySo answers qxb or e. Queen f4 takes on b4 with check, recapturing material and planting the queen deep in white's territory to sow mayhem. Saleh Salem retreats kc2, king bone to c2, stepping out of checks and inching toward relative safety while tension continues to pulse across the board. WesleySo repositions, nd5, knight b6 jumps to d5 to centralize and target c3 and b4 squares, seeking counterplay and control of key central outposts. Saleh Salem plays bd2, bishop e3, slides to d2 to shield, connect forces, and prepare to challenge Wesley's queen and rook dominance with tactical responses. WesleySo lashes kafuri, queen b4, back to f4, delivering another sharp check, keeping the initiative and forcing Saleh Salem's king to march under fire. Saleh Salem shuffles, kb2, king c2, to b2, stepping sideways into a precarious shelter while the battlefield remains littered with tactical tripwires. WesleySo charges, nb4, knight d5 hops to b4, creating threats on c2 and a2, trying to maximize active pieces and provoke fatal weaknesses around white's monarch. Saleh Salem responds b4, bishop d2 captures on b4, trading off the dangerous knight and attempting to calm the exploding middle game with a snug tactical shot. WesleySo retorts qxb or e, queen f4 captures, the bishop on b4 with check, reclaiming material and forcing white's king further into an uncomfortable journey. Saleh Salem ducks, kc2, king b2 back to c2, keeping the king mobile and alive while hoping to weather Wesley's relentless pressure on the queen side. WesleySo steadies with kf7, king gate to f7, marching back towards central defense and signaling he's ready to convert advantages with clinical precision. Saleh Salem storms eng5, knight e6, jumps to g5, delivering a menacing check and reviving tactical chances near black's king. The fight is far from over. WesleySo answers kg7, king f7 to g7, sidestepping the checks while maintaining an army poised to strike and refusing to yield an inch to theatrics. Saleh Salem advances kd3, king c2, to d3, bravely marching into the center to support his pieces and survive the onslaught like a warrior in the thick smoke. WesleySo invades k3, queen b4, to a3, with a piercing check, slicing into white's position and threatening to pick off pawns and coordination with surgical accuracy. Saleh Salem presses kd4, king d3 to d4, stepping forward, despite danger, fueled by fighting spirit, and the hope that active king play can turn tides. WesleySo snatches qxetvu, queen a3 takes on a2, capturing a pawn and leaving a black queen lodged deep in white's camp. A greedy but effective ploy. Saleh Salem replies bc4. Bishop e2 to c4 develops with tempo, eyeing key diagonals and trying to dislodge Wesley's queen with graceful tactical intent. Wesley So plunges qdt to a2, queen a2 to d2, delivering a sharp check. Saleh Salem steps k5, king d4 to f5, boldly advancing into the fray, seeking shelter and central activity while turning the board into a desperate battlefield. WesleySo follows qc3 chain, queen d2 to c3, with another incisive check, keeping the white king dancing and forcing decisive concessions under mounting tactical strain. Saleh Salem retreats kd5, king f5 to d5, continuing the perilous royal march, desperate to escape discovery checks and hoping to regroup into a fighting endgame. WesleySo plays heaven h6, a simple pawn push that luffs for safety, prevents a back rank nightmare and gives Wesley breathing room to tighten the noose. Saleh Salem strikes n6, knight g5, to e6, delivering a sharp, desperate check and forcing Wesley's king to show its true mettle under direct assault. WesleySo coolly responds kf6, king a7 to f6, stepping confidently into the fray to block checks and consolidate his material and positional edge like a champion. Saleh Salem hops nd4, knight e6 to d4, repositioning aggressively to i6 and b5, hunting for counters while the clock of tension ticks loudly. WesleySo seals it with e7 e6, pawn e7 to e6, checking the king and cementing black's supremacy. Wesley's precise final thrust collapses white's resistance and decides the match. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to bring you even more exciting chess games. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.